This is CHSR 97.9 FM in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, we're on the dawn of the 35th anniversary of Risky Business, and I love that film. And we all, of course, all remember Tom Cruise and the sunglasses and the dancing in his underwear and all that jazz. I happen to have one of the stars of the film on the phone, and she's also a musician as well, and we're going to talk about all that. Please welcome Sarah Partridge. How you do, Sarah?
Hi, how are you, Greg?
I'm doing great. It's fantastic and quite an honor to have you on the phone.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. You know, I want to start talking about your music before we talk about Risky Business, because I know you sent me a music video, and there's a lot of images of the homeless in it. Is that something that's very dear to you?
Well, I certainly am concerned about it. There's no question. Living in a metropolitan area, you see a lot of it. And this was a song I wrote with Janis Iain.
Okay.
A legendary singer-songwriter, 3-time Grammy winner, 10-time Grammy-nominated, very famous in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And we wrote this song together because I just completed an album that's being released the 21st of this month called Bright Lights and Promises, Redefining Janis Iain.
Okay.
So, but the song came from, we were sitting around trying to figure out what to start to write about, and I said, what's always really bothers me is that, I walk past these people, or I drive past them, and I think that was somebody's child, That was a little baby one time, and, it troubles me, and, we have to have compassion for these people. So, yes, that was a bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but, yeah, it does concern me. It does.
I actually caught that in the lyrics too. This was somebody's son or this was somebody's daughter, and it was a very moving video. The name of the song has escaped me.
Somebody's Child.
Somebody's Child. That's right.
Yeah.
Did you have any other singles that you'd released off that album?
There's one other video that we did for it. It's called A Quarter Past Heartache, which is also one of the original tunes that we wrote for it. The rest of them are Janis's, some of them famous, some of them not.
Okay.
And as I said, it's released April 21st worldwide, and go check those videos out. A Quarter Past Heartache, which actually sounds like a sad song, but it's actually pretty funny.
Okay.
So it's kind of the opposite of Somebody's Child.
What's it like to go from? I know you're still acting, but to go from
I'm
acting.
Really not. I haven't acted in decades, to tell you the truth.
Well, I was looking at your Internet Movie Database, but actually, to be frank, what's it like going from acting to doing music and singing?
Well, there are many similarities, and then there are some differences. Similarities are performing. Similarities are it's a very difficult field, to excel in. You're always hustling for yourself, trying to get the next gig. Differences are music world and the television, the entertainment industry. They're a little bit different. They function kind of in the same way, but you're dealing with music, and there's a different way to approach it and sell it than there is, when it comes to television, movies, theater, so on and so forth. So, I can't think of a specific thing except the obvious. One is music and one is not. But remember, when it comes to theater, there are certainly musicals. So I had done several of those back in the day, and that sort of rang a bell when I got up to sing in front of people. Here's a big difference, though, come to think of it.
Okay.
Not so much in the business part of it, but in the creative part of it. When you're singing in a show, you're singing with the layers of a character over you and as part of a story. When you're singing as a musician, you're up there alone, feeling very naked. You know, you may have a band behind you, but it is just you, and you're exposing yourself. That's a very scary feeling. At least it was for me at first. It was very different from doing a musical. So that kind of shocked me in the very beginning when I was making the transition.
Wow. Well, you get a great voice. Like I said, I watched that music video and I was like, gee, that's the woman from Risky Business.
Right.
And, you know, speaking of risky business, how does that feel? It's going to be 35 years old next year.
It makes me feel old, Greg. Old.
I don't know. You might be able to feel like Tom Cruise. He just seems to keep going.
He sure does. No, yeah, we all keep going. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. When we were making it, none of us really knew how significant it would be sort of in film history. I went back to L.A. for the 30th, but they had a 30th reunion, sort of a celebration.
Okay.
And a bunch of the cast showed up, and we happily got together and started talking before we attended a screening at the Academy for it. And what was really fun was that what we realized is that for all of us in that film, and I had a relatively small part compared to, you know, the 5 main characters, but it was a first for all of us. It was everybody's first. And I'm talking about, now, Tom Cruise had done some films, but he certainly wasn't a star yet.
No.
It was a first for the director, who was also the writer. First for the producer, John Avnet, who became a very famous producer. First for Bronson Pinchot, Raphael Sbarge, and Curtis Armstrong, and Rebecca De Mornay, who all had major careers after that film. And that's why I think we all sort of came to this. Nobody had an attitude. I think I sort of wondered if people would. It was all just like really warm and fuzzy. It was just a really pleasant surprise. It really was.
Did Tom Cruise show up at the 30th?
No, he didn't. He didn't. I don't know where he was, but we were all saying, yeah, figures he wouldn't. But I have to tell you, he's a really wonderful person, and I have had some contact with him since then, and he's just been so kind to me as a person, so I think very highly of him.
You know, we're talking about your music. It's interesting how Tangerine Dream plays a huge part in the musical tone of that movie. Yeah, you are so right about that. It really does set the perfect tone in so many spots of that film, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. And even the placement of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins was even well placed when they're on the train.
Absolutely. You're so right about that. I agree. And that also contributed, I think, to the success. You know, the music really affected people in that movie. You can't say that about every movie, you know?
No, you can't. And music can make or break a film.
It can.
Yep.
Have you ever been to a film where you're like, oh, my God, the music is so wrong, it's distracting, you know?
Well, a lot of times, too, it's like back in the 70s, you know, not every movie had a soundtrack. Now every movie seems to have a soundtrack, and it's almost like they're just throwing songs together, and they don't really help the film. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I also feel that way about a lot of, you know, the television series. It became very, I don't know when it was, whether it was 10 years ago or 6 or 7 years ago, where every dramatic television show has like a soundtrack running.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's too much. It's too much. And then there's several scenes that are based just around some kind of song playing, which may or may not have anything to do with the show itself or the film itself.
And let's not forget old-time rock and roll was a big part of Risky Business as well.
I think everybody remembers that. That was just such a classic scene.
Yeah. But, you know, and they always reference either Tom Cruise with the sunglasses or Tom Cruise dancing in his underwear. But I'm going to say there was so many great shots in that film. Like, I love, for example, that opening narration. And it comes comes out of his sunglasses, you know, after he's having that talk about that daydream where he's you know, he
gets late to the test. He's late to the test, right?
Yeah, he sees the girl in the shower, and he goes in and it's
Greg,
steamy.
everybody thought for a while, oh, were you the girl in the shower? I'm like, no, that's not me. Oh, God. But yeah, the opening got you from the very beginning, didn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? On a side note, a movie that came out the year after, Top Secret by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams, made fun of that scene because there's a scene where Val Kilmer plays, of course, this rock star, Nick Rivers, and he's gotten himself into trouble where he's being tortured, and they have him. They're abusing him and brutalizing him, and he's starting to go out, lose consciousness, and it shows him him dreaming where he's showing up at college, and he's saying, "Am I late? Am I late?" And he goes, "It's done. Class is over." And he goes, "I failed the test. I'm back in school. I'm back in college." And it shows him next to me. He's got his hands tied up in the air, and he's being lashed by whips by two guys. And he's like looking over his shoulder and goes, "Thank God."
That's funny. I did not know that. That's great. I'll have to see that.
Yeah, it was Top Secret. It was by the guys that made Airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I something tells me I must have seen it because I love those guys, but I'll have to go back and check it out.
Well, I'm not 100% sure if it was a Risky Business reference, but certainly when I saw it before Risky Business, and when I watched some Risky Business, I thought Top Secret made fun of that.
Or they made fun of Top Secret if it came first.
No, I saw Top Secret first.
Oh, I see.
Top Secret came out in 1984.
Okay.
So it came out the year after.
Well, yeah, I mean, because at that point, Risky Business was, a big hit. Who knows?
Yeah. But so many great shots in that movie. And I got to point out first, the director, Paul Brickman, why he didn't go on to have a major career. I'll never know. What a brilliant filmmaker.
History that everybody talked about for a very long time. And I asked him when I saw him. Didn't want to, come out and say, what are you, dumb? Or what, you could have had this amazing career. You know what? I think really the man just was not cut out for that. I think that he quickly moved to Santa Barbara and wanted to enjoy his life and raise a family and was really not into the scene. And, there are a few people who really are just artists he wanted to create this piece, and he did. And then I think the aftermath took him by surprise, and it wasn't for him. He did go on to direct a really fine film with Jessica Lange a few years later. I think it was called Men Don't Leave. Well, I don't think it was a hit, but, he's a good writer and a good director, and I think he's just dabbled. But I think it was his choice. I think it's not like anything happened. He's a quiet, logical man, and I think that he just didn't really want it. I really think so.
Well, that can be overwhelming, but
yeah.
But he did some impressive camera work in this movie.
He had a great cinematographer, really great cinematographer, and I remember coming into it, Tom Cruise talking about, we are so lucky to have this guy. I can't pronounce his name, and I can't remember. It's terrible. You might want to look that up later, but he was well known for being very stylistic in a tasteful way. And you're right. I think, again, we talked about the music, the cinematography. The script was well done. He had really good actors, and it all just came together. It really did.
Yeah, and of course Tom Cruise doing fantastic in the movie. What was he like to work with? I know you get to throw French fries at him.
yeah, many times. We did that scene many times, so that was fun. They kept giving me more. He was really great, and he stays very much in character. He liked to be called by his name Joel while you were on the set. Very giving, very available, and I've heard that he has stayed that way, and I got to know him we went out on a few dates, actually, during the filming of it, and I can't say enough about him. He's just a gentle, thoughtful person, and I know there's a lot that swirls around him in the last 20 years, and I know nothing about that, and that's his personal business, but, I think life changes dramatically when you become a superstar, and but I have to say, he has maintained a little bit of contact with me, sends me Christmas cards, and really, it's just very nice.
Yeah.
Generous actor. I can't say enough about him. He was great to work with.
Now, when you got the part, was it a standard edition?
What do you mean a standard edition?
Like, did you just go in and read for the part? Like, how did you?
An audition.
Yeah.
I was still in college, and I was at Northwestern University, which is in Evanston, right outside of Chicago, and they wanted to film in Chicago, and so they came to Northwestern to audition kids because it had a renowned theater department, and they needed young people. Obviously, he was looking for unknowns because he used all unknowns except for Joe Pantoliano, who plays the villain, so to speak, who had somewhat of an established name. I remember Tom Cruise saying, "Well, I'm working with Joe Pantoliano." Little did he know that he was going to become the giant superstar that he did.
Yeah.
But so they came to the school, and I had an audition, and that was that. And then, so I didn't get it through an agent, but I did have an agent at the time because I was a senior and I was getting ready to jump into the professional pool in Chicago, and I had an answering machine back then, and I got a call back, so I had to go downtown and go to this call back, and I read for the Lana role, Rebecca De Mornay's role.
Okay.
Clearly wasn't really right for that. They said, "Great, thank you so much." And then I remember it was about the time I was graduating. I was really busy. I was moving out of my dorm. I was getting an apartment in Chicago, and I hadn't checked my machine. And I got a call from the answering service, and they said, "You know what, we've been trying to reach you, and your agent's been trying to reach you, and it's really important that you call." And luckily I got back to them in time, and they said, "You got this part in this movie." I'm like, "Oh, great." So that was really my first professional thing besides a commercial outside of college, which was a good way to start.
Yeah. And I got to say, Rebecca De Mornay, absolutely stunning in this movie as the escort that shows up.
Yeah.
I got to say, my favorite scene in the movie is the scene where she shows up at the house because of the way it was shot. Like,
right.
Of course, Tom Cruise earlier in the evening, has that, he's trying to figure out whether he wants to do this, and he's circling the ads for escorts and whatnot, and he has this really funny dream situation where he's imagining himself with quote unquote the babysitter, and then you got all the police outside. Yeah, the police outside, and of course Janet Carroll, his mom playing his mom with the.
I know. Nicholas Pryor playing his dad.
Yeah, get off the babysitter, and then this guy grabs a megaphone and threatens him, and Cruise goes, "Who was that?" And he goes, "My dad."
That's it. My father.
Actually,
that was
on a side note, I gotta say the introduction to Nicholas Pryor and Janet Carroll as the parents, another great set of filmmaking because they're talking to the audience through that whole thing.
Exactly. Well, Joel takes the form of the camera.
Yeah.
And they're talking to him, but wasn't that brilliant?
That was fantastic. I almost forgot about that, and I was like,
Me too, till you brought it up, but what a great touch,
It was fantastic, and of course, they added a great touch as the parents, of course, and but Rebecca De Mornay, when she shows up, of course, she's the escort that shows. Of course, earlier, of course, there was the transvestite that shows up. Which
and here's my story about the transvestite. He was when I lived in L.A. and we still keep in touch, but I live so far away now. He was a really good friend of mine, and at that very moment of filming, we were doing a play together. His name is Bruce Young.
Okay.
Oh my God! And we gave him such. Hell about that, playing that transvestite, because no one could be like, you know what his nickname is, or was?
What?
Moose. He was a big, huge, strapping, man. And for him to get this role was just a really, number one, brilliant casting, because there's no one more masculine than Bruce Young.
And he was great.
He was so great. Listen to me, Joel. I remember him saying,
open the door.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that was great.
Oh, yeah, he was fantastic.
And again, speaking of great shots, the shot there, the introduction to that character, I think, to correct me if I'm wrong, is Joel opening the sort of not the pinhole, but the little door to see just like Bruce's, just his lips moving.
Yeah.
It's just great shots, as you said.
And but you know what? The fact that Joel treated him with dignity, he led him to Lana, played by Rebecca De Mornay, and
right.
I gotta say, I think Joel handled that very well.
That was again good piece of writing by Paul Brickman to show this character's sensitivity.
Yeah.
Which, come to think of it, may again be part of the success, because I remember thinking originally, oh my God, is this going to be like another Porky's? And reading the script, you could kind of see how I would think that. And I remember at 3 a.m. when we're filming that babysitter scene, Nicholas Pryor's, we're just, shooting the breeze, and I said, I don't know, you've done a lot of films. Do you have a feeling about this, or is it just too hard to know? And he said, I really think this is going to be a great film. And he was right.
Well, he was an airplane.
Writing, they didn't make Joel, the character of Joel, just a jerk.
Yeah.
That was a really sensitive character who fell in love with the call girl and cared about people,
Yeah.
In other films, that character would have been, I don't care about my parents, I don't care about anybody, and that would have made it your typical sort of teenage thing. But this was different. It really was.
But like I said, my favorite scene in the movie is where Rebecca De Mornay shows up, because
Yeah.
Cruz, of course, is passed out on the couch. And of course, you see the leaves going outside, and the bicycle kind of fall over there, and you hear the footsteps, and she comes in, and you just hear, and I'm like, is he dreaming?
Yeah, it's like a dream sequence in many ways.
And yet he's not dreaming, and she comes in there, and she puts her foot up on the thing there, and she looks over at him and says, "Are you ready for me, Ralph?"
Ralph, I know. Well, think about it. It was like a dream come true for him,
And of course, the doors fly open. You got it's very fantasy-like.
Yeah, it is.
In fact, when Cruz gets up the next day and he goes downstairs, it's like, yeah, did that really happen? That's
I know, and there she is sitting in the kitchen,
And boy, I gotta say it, Rebecca De Mornay, what a sight. She is gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, yep. And then, of course, they got together on the film. They were with each other for several years, I think.
Actually, another scene I liked, too, was where Cruz is being kicked out of school or whatnot, and of course he's got to figure out what to do, and he panics and has to grab his friend's bike, and one place he goes is to her place, and I love that scene where he has to be really submissive, because he had this falling out with her, and he goes in there, and all you see is him crying on her shoulder. And the camera just kind of does a vertigo Hitchcock thing where it goes around, and she's just kind of holding him there. Yeah, I love that shot, too.
The thing that I really like thematically about the film is the idea of the man-child sort of thing. At that age, at one point he's very much a man, and at the other he's very much a little boy. And that's one of the scenes where he becomes a little boy, where that comes through.
Yeah.
It's so much more complicated than what meets the eye, that film.
And I won't give the ending away, but I got to say there was two variations on how the director wanted the ending.
Right.
And very, very compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one was more positive and the other one was a little more
uncertain.
Negative. Uncertain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uncertain would be the better word. Yeah. And they went with the more positive.
Well, the movie worked regardless. I just I kind of went for it. And DuVernay was wonderful, and of course, Joe Pantoliano as Guido the Killer Pimp.
Yes.
And
Isn't that great?
Yeah. You know what? Even with him, he as much of a jerk as his character was, in the end, he didn't strike me as all that negative.
Well, no. He
Because it's not like he had Joel beat up or anything.
No, he didn't kill anybody. He didn't beat anybody up. He was the villain, but in the end, he wasn't. He was just a guy trying to make a buck.
Yep.
He wasn't so terrible.
And of course, this was the year before Curtis Armstrong became Booger. This is his pre-Booger role.
That's right. Yep.
Went on to Revenge of the Nerds.
Right.
And of course, he had that trig midterm the following day, and he's being chased by Guido the Killer Pimp.
I know. He had some. I remember when they're in the car racing away from Guido the Killer Pimp. I think he says, "I think I'm going to throw up. I think I'm going to throw up on you, Joel." That's a great line too.
And I love the fact DuVernay is laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's having a great time. This is excitement for her.
Not excitement for Curtis Armstrong.
No.
And he's the one that gets
Tom Cruise at that point.
And Curtis Armstrong's the one that gets him into.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, Curtis Armstrong's the one that gets him into this mess to begin with.
Right, exactly.
And then, of course, Bronson Pinchot as well.
He was so funny.
Yeah, this was pre-Perfect Stranger and pre-After Hours. He had that minor role in that great Scorsese's movie. Yeah.
But it was, this was all new to him. Bronson is a Yale graduate from the, I think, I can't remember now. I know he was a Yale graduate, and I'm not sure if it was in the post-grad theater department or not. But a very talented actor, really funny actor, and of course, he went on to do some really funny work in his career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the who's the other two fellas that was at the cafeteria.
Raphael Sabarge. I can't remember his character name now.
Yeah, he was the one that showed up at the house with the girl, and
yeah, he was kind of the pretty boy.
Yeah,
and Kevin Anderson had a smaller part in that sort of, those four boys. Kevin Anderson was a Chicago-based actor who was pretty popular in Chicago at the time.
Yeah, you see him at that point. You see him once again when they're trying to put the house back together, and that little egg, get that little egg back in place.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But, and of course, Richard Macer.
Right.
He had a great cameo in that. And, of course, this is when they're shelling out, have all these escorts, and all the friends are showing up there, and they're trying to get all this money. This is the one night Richard Macer shows up.
I know. And, Joel gets into Princeton.
Well, he gets into Princeton, all right. Yeah.
One of the one-liners, Nicholas Pryor at the end of the film. Joel, can I see you a minute? And they're outside. Princeton can use a guy like Joel. Just great. His delivery on that is just great.
Yeah, I bet they could use a guy like Joel.
I'm sure. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Risky Business, fantastic. I love the film, like with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, one of my favorite teen flicks,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Yeah. Oh, well, to me, like year after year, like 82 was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yep.
83 was Risky Business. 84 was 16 Candles. You had some great teen flicks that weren't just funny, but they were meaningful,
Right. Now, and The Breakfast Club, remember that?
Oh, yeah, The Breakfast Club, 85.
So you want to hear my Breakfast Club story?
Sure.
So, John Hughes, the writer and director, he was Chicago-based at that time, and used a lot of Chicago actors. And the year, I think it was 83, when Risky Business came out, they were casting a lot of movies in Chicago, and Hughes was, doing that, was part of that whole thing. So I had an audition for this movie called The Breakfast Club. and I had like 2 or 3 callbacks for it. And I'll never forget this day. It was St. Patrick's Day, and I was doing an industrial film. An industrial film, for those who don't know, is a corporate film that, you know, a lot of actors, especially in Chicago, that had a lot of corporations like Arthur Anderson at the time, would use actors to do training films. And, you know, it was good pay, a lot of copy, you know, and whatever. So I was doing it in an industrial film. I got back from that about 4 o'clock and had my last callback for The Breakfast Club. And what he did is he wanted us to do a lot of improvisation with each other. In that room was me, Joan Cusack, and John Cusack. Can't remember the other two, but Joan Cusack was up for the Molly Ringwald role, and I was up for the Ali Sheedy role. And at the end of the audition, Hughes says, this is my cast. And we all left thinking, well, oh my God, we just got cast in this movie. Then I didn't hear anything. I called my agent so often, you know, no, we don't know. What ended up happening, and it was so disappointing, you can imagine how or at least I felt, he decided to do 16 Candles first. It became a huge hit, and I think he did Breakfast Club way after, of course, with practically the same cast.
Yeah.
And you know, it got very Hollywood and Brat Packish at that point. So that was one of my disappointing moments. And then after that callback, I had a job as a waitress and went to my job on St. Patrick's Day at an Irish bar in Chicago and worked until like 2 or 3 in the morning and had all of the money in my apron stolen. It was some day, I'll tell you, Greg. That was a day to remember. I had all the highs and lows you could imagine. But the fact that we waited so long to hear about what was going on with that movie was really frustrating, you know?
Yeah, I can hear you. You did have a few other films listed here, though. I mean, to name some off here, The Naked Face, you got Roger Moore and Rod Steiger.
Rod Steiger, yeah.
Steiger,
yeah, that was a kind of a small part, but that was really fun because my scene was with Rod Steiger, who's just, you know, really good actor, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I don't think that movie did very well, but I had a good time.
And then, of course, with the big Pony popularity today, I guess you did My Little Pony, the movie. It's kind of weird what's going on with that today.
Who knew? It is really strange.
It is. I mean, I don't want to criticize anybody, you know, but I don't get it.
I don't either. Honestly, I don't. It's sort of a phenomenon. I don't know what the attraction is, and whatever.
Yeah, but
it's really odd.
You did a voice in that.
Yes, I played Wind Whistler, who was the studious pony in the original movie.
Yeah.
And then I did, 65 episodes of the first run of the series.
Okay.
What was fun about that one was that they incorporated music in that first run of that first season. I don't know if it was a season or I don't know what you call it, but that first load of episodes, right after the movie, there were musical numbers, and it was really, really fun to do.
Okay. And now it's just gotten a little strange.
Yeah, and now it's just gotten a little strange, exactly.
But then after that, you did, you got Walk Like a Man, of course, with Howie Mandel playing a dog, more or less.
Yeah. And then a lot of episodic television, you know.
What was your now you played in Walk Like a Man, were you it's been so long since I've seen that, but you were the mom that had the little girl that he gives the teddy bear to, right?
Yeah. I can't believe you even remember that because I barely do.
You know why I remember that?
Why?
Because I grew up with the Friday the 13th movies, and of course Amy Steele was in Friday the 13th Part 2, and I thought she was very, very easy on the eyes. Mm-hmm. So when I rented Walk Like a Man, I rented it to see her.
Of course you did.
Yeah. So I remember that scene because Amy was in that scene, and I looked at the credits and said, I know where you were in that movie.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
What was Howie Mandel and A.B. Steele like to work with?
Great. Very friendly.
Yeah.
The only unfortunate person to work with, I don't know really how to put it, was on Baby Boom with Kate Jackson. She was difficult.
Okay.
She was not very nice to many people.
Okay.
But that being said, I remember that the rest of the cast was a lot of fun, and so that helped. But I was pretty lucky. I worked with. It seemed like the bigger the star, the nicer they were in some cases.
And of course, you were in The Mood, where you got to work in a film with Beverly D'Angelo.
Yeah, I wasn't in a scene with her.
I actually didn't see that. I just kind of checked that out today when I was looking up your credits. Like, oh yes, Beverly, everybody's favorite mom from those vacation movies.
Right. And Patrick Dempsey was the star.
Yeah, and he's still working quite steadily today.
Yep.
Wow.
There's another writer-director who sort of reminded me of Paul Brickman from Risky Business.
Okay.
Phil Robinson. He did the Shoeless Joe movie.
Oh, you lost me on that.
Oh, I can't remember the name now. It was really good. The baseball movie, Field of Dreams.
Okay.
He did Field of Dreams.
Okay.
Directed Field of Dreams. He was a great writer too, but ended up mostly directing. And I don't know. He reminded me of Paul Brickman. He had the same quiet sensibility, but he stayed in Hollywood and did a lot of great movies. I wonder where he is now. He was a good man too.
I don't know. I actually looked up Paul Brickman to see if he'd come on here, but I couldn't find anything on him. But
is that right?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Maybe he's in seclusion on his own little island.
He's in Santa Barbara. That I know.
I actually did an interview about 2 weeks ago with somebody from Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, an independent actress I had on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, almost, as of next year, Risky Business turns 35.
Oh, that's just amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, it's got to be one of my, I wouldn't say top 10, I'd say top 5 favorite teen flicks.
Oh, wow. No wonder you wanted to go through this. And I'm very impressed with, you really know this movie. You know it really well, Greg.
Well, I've been reviewing movies since 1996, but I started here at the station in 2005. Mm-hmm. But we didn't start podcasting here until I didn't start podcasting until 2015. And after that first initial interview was like, who else can I get, And
Right.
And it kind of like, I wanted to kind of celebrate the kind of movies I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's guests I get from I got a couple of LA contacts that send me clients as well, which is nice. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, it's kind of fun to dig and put kind of my own personal stamp on movies that I have home on Blu-ray, like Risky Business.
Well, and it's interesting that you chose me, who did not have the largest part, but I was an insider at the time. I was on that set for 2.5 weeks, and I got to know all of those people. And, I don't usually people usually want to interview me about my music and not about this. So this is really refreshing for me, and to talk about that film, which really was a significant little piece of my life, considering what happened with the movie.
Well, you know what? When I went to Risky Business, like I looked it up, and I wanted to get somebody from it. And I didn't know you were a musician.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I went through and I was like, okay, I recognize these faces. I didn't know you by name, so I clicked on you. I thought, what else did you do besides a Risky Business, Mm-hmm. And Risky Business was, of course, your big film. But then I found your webpage. I was like, that's how I discovered you were a musician. I was like, great, we can talk about Risky Business and about her being a musician. I was like, that adds an extra layer to it.
There you go. I made that transition about 1993 is when I really made that transition, into jazz music specifically is what I do.
Yeah.
And moved to New York with my husband, and once I got here, it just really sort of took over.
Did you get any inspirations?
Inspirations like musical inspirations? Yeah, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, the old singers, Anita O'Day, then players like Stan Getz and Oscar Peterson and Dizzy Gillespie, and that was thanks to my father who listened to all this. It was always in my house, and I always loved the music, and there was something in the back of my brain always, even though I wanted to be an actress, that said, boy, wouldn't it be great to do this? So, and it ended up happening and taking over, really. So, and really, at this point in my life, I feel much more in control of my life. That is, as in control as any artist can ever feel, which is not so much so, but I feel like I'm really in control of what I do artistically. I'm not waiting for the phone to ring. I get out there and I get my own things. And in some ways, it's way more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Than stepping into a silly, character or that has got maybe 10 lines in a television show. After a while, that just was not appealing to me. That's not why I got into it. And as you age as a woman, frankly, it becomes harder.
Yes,
if you're
it
not
does.
Quite famous, no matter what, it becomes harder. You're not really going to develop into a character actress unless you've been successful early on, whereas men have an easier job of, as they get older, becoming character actors and getting a lot of work. I know a handful of them.
Yeah.
So my point is just that it sort of, the transition happened at a really, at a good time for me.
So here's a question: How many takes and how many French fries did you guys pelt Tom Cruise with?
Well, I don't really remember, but usually with every scene you do a good 5-6 takes.
Did they have like a pile of them behind them?
Oh yeah, they just were cooking them up in that kitchen because we really filmed in a diner, and they had a ton of French fries, and they kept replacing. And I kept, we're eating, and there was a lot of French fries that day. But what happens when you're eating in any kind of scene and you have to do many takes, and this is kind of gross now, but for commercials too, like when you see a McDonald's commercial and they're always taking that bite, at a certain point after several takes and several different shots of it, you end up just taking a bite and spitting the food or the drink in a bucket, because you can't keep eating it.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with the French fries that day. It's not that you see me eating so many French fries, but in the take, especially with a long shot where it's not a close-up of anybody, you're eating. You're eating. And at a certain point, it's like, I don't want any more French fries. I don't want any more hamburgers. So they have a bucket there and you spit it out. Gross, huh?
Yeah.
That's the glamour of showbiz.
Well, tell me, before we let you go, what is your favorite scene from Risky Business, though? There's just so many to pick from, but...
Oh, boy, that is a tough question. So what pops into my head is really, I have to say, that Bruce Young scene, the transvestite scene. I just... and maybe it's because I know him, but I find it so charming, because the two characters just... they finesse their way through that scene so well. So what I mean is that it's scary for him. It's funny for the transvestite character.
Yep.
And the opposition of this young man-child and this overly experienced hooker, really, who happens to be a transvestite, is great. And one of the best lines in the film, and as we said, there's a lot of them, is, "This is what every boy from the North Shore wants," or something like that. I think it was something.
Oh, yeah, Lana, she's what every boy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what pops into my head, but it's a really tough question, Greg, because I'd have to throw it back at you. What is your favorite scene?
You know, I got a couple that come to mind. One, of
Well,
course.
you got to say the babysitter scene. Come on.
Oh, the babysitter scene's funny, but
Right.
it's funny you mentioned that because Rebecca De Mornay practically is Joel's babysitter in that movie.
I know. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
especially
Yeah.
when he shows up there when he's nothing else he
Yep.
can do. When he's just she's holding him and he's
Yep.
crying on her shoulder. That was a pretty submissive scene for him, and it was something very real too. Especially when that close up of her face. I like that scene a lot, but I gotta say the scene where she initially shows up, and I don't know whether it's a dream sequence or reality, and of course he shows up downstairs and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that kind of filmmaking, and I love the music that went to it. It wasn't comical music, it was very fanatical, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and of course you had the TV on and they're on the stairs, and
Yep.
and then the cut of Tom Cruise's pictures that has him as a boy, and
Yeah.
it was
Again, it's really one of the best coming of age films. That theme of the man child, the man boy, is prevalent throughout. Through some of the underlying there's some serious undercurrents.
Yep.
And on top, there's a lot of, it's funny. It's a way more complicated film than meets the eye, which I said before, which makes it, I think, one of those films that you can watch again and again.
And I do. I love Risky
Obviously
Business.
you do. It's great.
Yeah, I love Risky Business, and what a fantastic movie, and definitely one of my top 5 favorite teen flicks. Goes up there with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, 16 Candles, American Graffiti, Election, stuff like that, a lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know it's closing in on your time, and I don't want to keep you any more than I can.
Well, I've been happy to be here. It's been great talking to you. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't had a talk with somebody about this film in depth like this for quite a while, so thank you for having me.
Oh, you know what? I'm really happy that, because you never believe, sometimes, there's people I contact and they don't want to talk about said film because they've talked about it so many times, and I'm like, look, if you get a chance to promote something, take it,
Yeah, I feel that way,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about. That's part of it. That's part of
Yeah.
the whole deal.
And of course, Risky Business, I'm so happy to have gotten an interview from that, and next time I watch the film, I see you, I made that connection with you, and know that I did a little bit of my part to help promote the film out there to hopefully a new generation,
Exactly, right.
Yeah, because great movie.
Briefly, I have heard that, today there are college campuses that have like risky business parties.
Oh,
And
yeah?
Apparently they wear, speaking of that, the famous scene of the old-time rock and roll, they wear sunglasses and boxer shorts.
Oh, I thought
That's
you were...
all that it is, but see, it's reaching that younger audience now.
I thought you was going to say they had these scenes where there's escorts and then there's somebody that shows up to do a job interview.
Hey, you know what? They may do that. I haven't heard about it, but that's very possible that that's going on too.
Yeah, but these job interview people are like, can I have that Richard Macer night?
Right, Richard Mazer night from Risky Business.
that stone cold look on his face, like...
Yeah. Oh, it was great. When he leaves the party, it's just it's a whole different guy, Great.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, I was going to get you to do a plug for my show, but do you want to plug your webpage beforehand?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Real simple. It's sarahpartridge.com. And again, at the moment, I'm very, very busy starting to promote this new album of mine, which I really feel is some of the best work I've done. And if anybody listening has ever heard of Janis Iain, again, she was very, very famous in the late 70s, early 80s with a hit called At 17. And even before that, a song called Society's Child, which she wrote when she was 15 years old. And it's about a biracial relationship. And, she was considered to be pretty much of a genius at an early age. But I've reimagined her music plus some original tunes that I wrote with her on a collection as this album, Bright Lights and Promises, redefining Janis Iain, and check it out if you want to.
Absolutely.
Now you promote yourself, Greg. Go for it.
Well, you've been listening to, of course, Python's Paradise. That's the name of my show. This is Python. Listen, I'm going to get you to plug my show. I just go get you to state your name. And my name, of course, is Greg Gilbert. My show is called Python's Paradise. And I'm out of New Brunswick, Canada. You got all that?
I'm going to try. You want me to do? Okay. You want me to use all of that?
Sure.
Okay.
Go.
Hi. Ready?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Sarah Partridge, and you're listening to Python's. What is it again?
Python's Paradise.
Yeah.
With Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert.
Right.
And out in New Brunswick, Canada.
Okay. Hi, this is Sarah Partridge, and you're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert out of New Brunswick, Canada.
Have you ever been out this way before?
Not up there, but I have family in Ridgeway, Ontario, which is right across the Buffalo border.
So you know where New Brunswick, Canada is?
It's up there.
Yeah, a lot of my guests don't know where we are. We're
Way
like,
up there.
we still get some snow on the ground, but spring is.
But
spring
what I
is
can't
coming.
remember is how far east or west you are.
Actually, I don't know that. I'm in the Atlantic Canada. We're kind of closest to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Okay, so you're east coast, eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have an aunt and cousins in Halifax. That's right. I knew that.
Oh, wow.
Yep. My mother's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
And you're American?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was born in Boston because my father was from Buffalo. And,
okay.
My mother did not. My father died in 95, but my mother finally became an American citizen about 1992. It took all that time only because she knew my dad was dying and she was going to get killed by estate taxes. But she really wanted to maintain her Canadian citizenship. But yeah, I'm an American.
Is she regretting it now due to the political situation?
She's got Alzheimer's, so she doesn't even know what's going on. But I remember even before, 10 years ago, she was sort of wishing that she at least had dual citizenship. Yeah, I don't know what she'd be thinking now.
Oh.
Pretty crazy.
Well, Sarah, I thank you so much for coming on here and promoting your music and promoting reliving the memories of risky business, and it's just been fantastic having you here on the show.
It's been a lot of fun talking to you, Greg. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for contacting me. It was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything you got to promote in the future, you reach out to me, and
I will.
Yeah,
terrific.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I look forward to listening, and I'm gonna listen to some of your other shows too. Now you got a new fan.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, and I've got I put one up every 5 or so days, and
Great.
this one here will be a while getting there because yours is number 113, and I've got I think 52 on there right now, but but it'll eventually make it there. So if it's a few months down the road you haven't heard, trust me, it's going to make it there. It's just
cool, great.
My live show is on Sunday, so I'm actually playing number 71 and 72 this Sunday. So you got a little while there, but you'll get in there.
Yeah, I'm just glad you're busy. That's fantastic.
It is fun. I have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, check out my other interviews if you like. It's
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, listen. Thank you again, and hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be in touch.
Great. Take care, Greg.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.